Hello. So I had some commentary on the stream that was shown last night with the Starfield, reveals, and it looks, you know, really good. It's very pretty, and I'm sure it's going to be like have fun gameplay, fun gunplay, and level ups and all sorts of things. But there are a few, just a couple of things that I wanted to point out that I think I'm a little bit, you know, uh, sad that, well, maybe not sad, but I kind of wish that they maybe had done something other ways. But yeah, it's not like I'm not hating on Starfield or anything. This is just my sort of design thoughts on why they did uh, what they've done, and how a little bit maybe about how I will try to not do that in my really big world game, uh, which is called Tides of Revival. Okay, so uh, first, like, let's say that you have this really successful studio and you've launched Skyrim, right? And you know that you can make like, okay, now we're gonna make a space game, the game that we've always wanted to make, like the space game we always wanted to make, and we have like 10 years to make it or something. I can't really imagine in that scenario anyone being like, you know what, we're gonna show off in one of the, like, in the initial stream, someone standing still and mining ore, right? Like, so the question then is like, how did we get there? Like, why is this something that they are interested in showing off as like a mechanic in the game? There must have been like other interesting things they could have shown, right? Or maybe not, I don't know. So to go back a little bit, because I think it'll be relevant. A while back, I wrote a post on replayability, because I've seen this sentiment from time to time, like, people thinking like, well, why does this game have replayability, or why do games have replayability? There are so many games, uh, or why does this game like brag about having 500 hours of game time? Like, I don't have that much time anyway, so why does it need to be that long? And to me, uh, it's because there's value in having content that you're not experiencing, because like, either because you're just making, you have two choices or many choices, and you make a certain choice, and you know that you could have made the other choice, and that's what makes it interesting, right? If you always make the same choice, then you don't really have a choice, right? So by leaving out something that you're not experiencing, that makes your choice more valuable in some sense. um, uh, and the sort of the same thing is with like 500 or 10,000 hours of gameplay. Like, I've played RimWorld for maybe 300 hours or something, and I still feel like I haven't like scratched, like, oh, I've scratched the surface, but there's still a lot of things to experience, and I know that I haven't even done like organ trading or any of those, like any of the war crimes that people talk about right now. So there's like, it allows me, like, I know that I can play the game that I want, and there's still a way to play the game, or many other ways to play the game, besides me, and that's important, right? Because that means that I've made this choice to play the game in the way that I want. Uh, yeah. So I have two problems that I'm gonna bring up, and this is just like from the stream 2 days ago, uh, or yesterday actually, and I don't think I would have mentioned it, but then I saw the post by Rock Paper Shotgun, and I kind of agreed. Uh, So I thought, maybe I'll just record my take on this. So yeah, I don't think just this process of standing out in the wilderness and mining, it's not particularly entertaining for anyone, I dare say. I think probably the same goes for like scanning creatures and picking flowers, or picking like not flowers, but like they showed off picking up flora of some kind, and like I think some people will like it, and I think that's fine, but it's not something that has mass appeal, I don't think. Especially, I think, yeah, I don't know, but so like I started to ask myself, why do you really need to mine? Because as is clear, like when you're watching the stream or the trailer, you do other things that ought to bring you like so much money that you should be stinking rich. Like you attack outposts, and like I imagine this is only from what I've seen, right? But you attack outposts and you basically kill everyone in it, and can't you just like strip everything of value? There should be like millions of things of value, millions of space bucks of value in this place, and you have starships, right? So you should be able to like transport whatever you want out of there. So there's like a disconnect where like, okay, I can go to this planet and run around and find something to mine, like, oh, here's a piece of ore, or like even if it's like platinum or mithril ore, I have a hard time seeing how it can compare to just like killing 20 people and just stealing everything they have, right? How does that how does that work? Where's the incentive to mine? Right? If it's boring and you also don't like actually get anything of value, I don't see why you would do it. But I think the reason why you do need to mine, or why you can mine, maybe I should say, is I think it comes down to they have like, and I think this is prevalent in like AA games in general. There's this fear of not, the fear of allowing the player to not have gameplay. It's like in one of my favorite examples that I thought was silly, but not everyone will agree. But in Last of Us, you're like at some point walking on rooftops, and you pick up a plank, and you just know that, okay, or maybe you just see it and you're like, okay, this is meant for plank gameplay, right? It's like, and of course, yeah, you put it down so that you can walk to another rooftop, and then having done that, you just know that this is going to happen a few times because they've implemented plank gameplay, and it's not particularly fun to do it, but it kind of needs to be there, they think, because it provides gameplay to the player, right? I think Last of Us is probably like a little bit too afraid to be the narrative game that they want to be, so they sort of feel pressured, but they feel a need to add planky gameplay and chest high walls and all of this stuff. And I think the same is here, that you can fly down from space anywhere to land anywhere, and if you could just like walk around and not have anything to do, wouldn't that be the worst thing, right? Who would like that? That sounds so boring. But I don't think that's true. I think that would be great if you can just fly down and see, like, okay, there's nothing here, let's just fly somewhere else. It's not like that you can't provide gameplay with that. You could have like scanners on your radio or on your spaceship or whatever to show you where there is, when the war, or you can I don't know. There's ways to make gameplay out of it if you really want mining, right? But just yeah, I think they just want it randomly so that players can run around in this procedural world and not be not get bored immediately, which I think is a it's not a bold design move. It's a bit of a boring design move, I think. So the other problem, the randomized locations. This is, as I understand it, maybe I could be wrong, but it seemed to me that you pick any surface on the planet or on any given planet, and you teleport down there, and just by running around, eventually, fairly quickly, I think I would guess like a couple of minutes, you will find some interesting location, because they basically be like, okay, you're in a swamp planet on a hill, and then we have like 3 different locations for you that you can possibly encounter. So we're gonna spawn like a swamps hill science lab or something, and that's what we're gonna place there. And I don't particularly like that. I think it's really weird. Like if I play this game and I talk to my friend who's also playing the same game, the same single player game, right? And I say, hey, have you been to this swamp hill science place on this planet? It's at these coordinates. They can be like, no, I saw that, but I was at like these coordinates, or I was there, but I saw a bandit outpost or something. And it's like, okay, are we not playing in the same world, or are we playing in like different time zones? The different eras of the universe or something. Like, why isn't the same thing at the same place? I think that's a little bit weird. So for my game, having that thing that they are in the same place is actually like a community feature, I think, because I think that it's going to spur a discussion about like, oh wow, you know what I found? Because it's not going to be easy to find all of these locations. They're not going to be like marked on a map, or no one. Some of them will be like hidden or forgotten, etc. So maybe just one player will discover a location that no one else has discovered, and then they can like tell players about that, and it can. I think it can be like a fun meta discussion to have about the game. But yeah. So I think it's a little bit weird. I think it's also this. It really comes down to they're too afraid of letting the player run around on a world and not having gameplay. And it is weird, because they could just solve it by having each crew member could have like a I don't know world lore stat or something, and depending on how much total of that you have, you know the position of X number of places, random locations. Well, not random, but like not sort of main quest locations, right? Like side quest locations on each planet or something. And that could be an incentive to get certain NPCs to hire, or upgrade your ship, or So I mean, there's definitely gameplay in having things in the same place for everyone, right? So I don't know why that is. I just think it really comes down to like someone in the design, or maybe even like marketing or something, I don't know, someone high up said, a player cannot be allowed to land and walk for 5 minutes without finding something interesting. It's a no-go, right? I think that's what happened, and I think it's the wrong approach, and I think it's kind of boring, and I think no one like it's just the wrong way to populate this huge world that they have. And I think it's great that they do have this huge world. I think it's amazing that they have like 1,000 planets or something, and you can land anywhere on all of the planets, because it comes down to that replayability thing, right? It's fun for me as a player to know that I can land anywhere I want on this planet and see what's there, even if it's nothing, even if it's just like a pretty view, right? There's a value in that, because I know that it makes the world feels like an actual place, right? I know that, you know, I'm gonna go to this city here because that's where my quest is taking me, or something is interesting there. But I know that I could go anywhere. Like I could do any amount. Like I have so many choices that I could do, because there's this huge world. But this is the part that I'm interested in. And just having that choice, there's value in that. That's why one of my core feelings about this. And I read, you know, a number of takes on this from when they announced it. That's basically like, you know, they that is just gonna be like, wow, why they're just gonna spread out the content to a bunch of, you know, instead of having like a few really interesting locations, they have this huge space that's so uninteresting, that's just procedurally generated. And now they have sort of the worst of both worlds. They do have a really big world that is procedurally generated, but they also have like the adding, like their usage of this is done in the wrong way, in my opinion. So it doesn't entice anyone to be like, oh, actually there was really value in them doing it this way. Like I can see now why they wanted to do it this way. I don't think anyone's gonna, no, I'm not gonna say anyone, but I don't think that's gonna be like a common sentiment that, wow, it really made the game better that they have 1,000 panels that I can fly around to. I think it's gonna be like, I think people are gonna be kind of dismissive of it, and I think that's a shame, because there is room for RPGs with huge worlds. That is what I'm building, and I'm pretty sure I have a more interesting take on it. I haven't talked much about it, but you'll see eventually. Hopefully, and hopefully I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong, but at least I'm making the experiment and the leap to see if that's if a game can be found that way. And I think it can be, because Daggerfall did it, and I think the only reason why Daggerfall isn't, you know, popular now is because it's really old and it's very Yankee, even with the, you know, new versions, the Unity versions and the mods. Like the combat is still like 30 years old, and I think no one has really done what Daggerfall did in 30 years. So nobody really knows what it's like nobody really knows what it would be like if someone made a modern RPG on a huge world that made use of this huge world in a really good way. Yeah, I think I think my plans for doing that, or for solving that, it seems to be better than what I can see from Starfield. But of course, it's easy to say that. I'm just like currently just like an armchair designer, because we haven't really gotten that far in the process yet. So it's always easy to sit here and complain about things like this. But yeah, maybe I got someone thinking, at least, or maybe you think I'm really silly. That's okay too. I think I'm gonna enjoy the game, but I think I'm not going to enjoy all of it. But I'll try to enjoy the bits that I really do enjoy. Let's just say it like that. All right. That was, I think, all I wanted to say for now, at least. Thank you for listening to this very impromptu talk, if you can call it that.